So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to welcome you all to this final session. Respected Deputy National Security Advisor, Dr. Arvind Gupta. We are privileged to have you with us, and this is our fourth CyFy, and I recall that you've been with us on each occasion. So this is special for us, and thank you, sir, for continuing to support and encourage this particular initiative. So this year the theme was the theme of the conference was Digital Asia, scripting a new governance order, and implicit in the theme was the impulse and need to have substantial representation from Asia and Africa in the internet governance and internet governance conversations. The developing world has become a stakeholder and a co-owner of various processes that frame rules, laws, best practices, and norms. Norms is the current refrain, the new buzzword to describe various alternatives for governing the internet, knowing fully well that agreement on rules and laws are both complex and difficult to achieve. So if we were to go with this current buzzword, this conference was really about engaging in debates on norm setting in a non-OECD gathering with a different set of people and voices. It perhaps may not have been as inclusive as we may have liked it to be. There should have been more from Africa, more from Latin America, and we will correct that as we proceed. But it certainly was a different setting. But in this setting, we had a substantial presence of policy practitioners and experts from the global north. They too must engage with these new voices and with these new debates. We had invited over 140 delegates and speakers from 45 countries, and we had over 450 participants who walked in and out these doors over the last 2.5 days. We were thrilled that in our speakers list that there was a 25% increase in women participation. Not enough, and we are determined that next year we should be at par in terms of the gender balance on our speakers list. We had no all-male panels, either this year or the last, and women who hold up half the sky had, I hope, their fair share of discussion in this particular space. Dr. Gupta, sir, they say conferences and gatherings like these are successful if we discover common spaces. Let me confirm to you, sir, that we discovered lots of shared spaces, both in the room and near the bar. And I believe that many of us are more aligned to the others' positions, if not their realities. But to me, such gatherings have even more meaning if we leave with common goals and have the same set of questions that agitate our mind when we leave this room. Let me share 7 questions, sir, as a readout of what was discussed over the last 2.5 days. The first was, to what end are we seeking norms? What is the life cycle of a norm, and how do we manage its abrogation and non-compliance? What do we do when technology renders norms obsolete? Is there space for new norms? The second was, where are the Southern conversations? Where is the Global South participating in this process? There is clearly an appetite, which was expressed time and again, a need for greater engagement in and from developing countries in norm-making processes. Ambassador Lata Reddy also suggested, is it time for an India-led commission on norm-making? The third issue that I leave with is on the packaging of stakeholders into the category of state and non-state actors. And this for me is problematic. And so are attempts to create or imbue virtuosity around civil society, academia, and think tanks. But then how do we organize stakeholders when there is a proliferation of ideology and design across these groups? The next was on security. Is the increasing securitization of cyberspace and conversations around cyberspace taking a toll on the real questions, on the dynamism and the innovation, on the issue of access, financial inclusion, and digital opportunities that we need to avail? So can we desecuritize the debate and turn it around economy and opportunity? And this was raised by a colleague of mine from Africa and some others in the side room where we were sitting this afternoon. And then the last panel questioned or discussed the mega regional trading agreements? Are they exclusionary in their norm-setting processes? Without judging the impact of their outcomes, is it fair to suggest that there should be no place for closed-door negotiations for discussing the future of the internet? And are we destined to recreate online what exists offline? Offline spaces are riddled with inequalities, incumbencies, and attempt to capture certain spaces. Do we really want this replicated online? For me, it is problematic when I hear in many conversations all over the world that what we have offline must be protected online. What we have offline is not good enough. There's a geographical bias, gender bias, class bias, caste bias, and we should not be replicating online what we have offline. So how do we take that conversation forward? And what can the users, the multi-stakeholder community, do to encourage the understanding of these new spaces, of new rights, and of new participation as we discuss these issues? And finally, is the stability of cyberspace coming under increasing strain due to the disruptive activities of those meant to keep peace, those meant to preserve its stability? Are the progenitors and guardians of the system disrupting the system? And these are big questions that we want to take forward next year as we move to CyFy 2017, but I thought I will share with you some of the questions I have from the last 2.5 days of conversation. Without further ado, let me invite the Deputy National Security Advisor to deliver the valedictory address. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Samir, for giving me a flavor of this very important conference, which, as usual, I have missed completely, and I have been again asked to speak in the last session without really knowing what went on before me. But I think the 6 or 7 questions that you mentioned are very relevant, and this gives a flavor of the debate that is taking place in this conference and elsewhere. I will touch upon some of them, though I must admit that to really talk about in a very learned manner on these 7 issues is very difficult for me, because I'm no longer a seminarist these days, so it's only a policy, sitting in the policy circles. And I always enjoy coming to CyFy and this edition as well. And one is that one comes and learns about the latest trends in cyber, and particularly cyber security. And also because this gives me an opportunity to meet some friends. And Uri Rosenthal is here, and a great pleasure meeting him. Tariq Kamal is here, and Samiran, and I think my old friend from General Malik is also sitting here in the audience, and many others whom I recognize, but I can't name for the amount of time. But it's a great pleasure meeting all of you here. I have prepared a kind of text because it helps me to collect my thought, etc. But there are many things which I think need a far more discussion, and I'm sure that when you prepare the document, the final document or outcome document of this conference, you will also underline some of the issues from the policy point of view. Now, India, with 400 million users of the internet and as the second largest user of cyberspace, has major stakes in the security and stability of cyberspace. Of the coming 1 billion new users, a large number will be from India. Now, I think this is a fact that is important and has vast implications. ICTs are emerging as the engine of growth and prosperity in India. We gain enormously from cyberspace. At the same time, we, like others, are vulnerable to the threats to national security originating in cyberspace, something that you referred to in your remarks. The themes of this conference bring out the tremendous scope of cyberspace for global good, but also the tensions arising out of the rapid changes in the nature of cyberspace itself. We are already seeing sharp differences on how internet should be governed and how we should rescue the cyberspace from the perpetrators of terrorism, organized crime, and extremist ideologies. The World Summit for Information Society, WSIS plus 10 document adopted last year drew attention to the need for bridging the digital divide and the growing role of ICTs in sustainable development. Intense debate is taking place surrounding the issues of privacy, freedom of expression, concerns about national security, inclusion, etc. The outcome of these debates will influence the future of the internet. The international community is concerned about the norms of responsible behavior in cyberspace, and you refer to this. There is a general agreement that the norms of international law should apply to cyberspace, but the difficulty arises how to apply these given the nature of cyberspace characterized by absence of borders, lack of attributability, and private ownership of most of the assets. There are many opinions and views. We don't yet have answers to these questions, although some efforts are being made in the regional and multilateral fora to find the answers. India supports the multi-stakeholder model for the governance of the internet while emphasizing that governments must have a strong and clearly defined role in the matters of national security. The multi-stakeholder model of internet governance is itself in the midst of reform. And Tariq Kamal, I think, is looking at what happened today. So we'll talk about it because it's really going to the wire. So we don't know what's going to happen to the model which is under consideration. The process has been delayed and the new model is not yet in place. We hope that the new model will be inclusive and representative. India will be hosting for the first time a meeting of the ICANN 57 in Hyderabad in November 2016. Hopefully by that time some clarity on ICANN transition will emerge. Technology is central to cyber, and technology itself is changing. So what is the impact that is going to have? So I just want to make a few remarks on that. We have seen how the internet has changed in the last few years. We can be reasonably sure that the nature of cyberspace will change dramatically in the medium to long-term time horizon. There will be more users, more devices, more information, and more applications. Machines will do more work for the humans. We are beginning to see the dawn of the era of Internet of Things. We are also witnessing the rise of new technologies and the growing application of artificial intelligence technology in cyberspace. The impact of the new technologies on the internet itself, on society, and on security needs to be understood. Developments in cyberspace are not just about bits and bytes. The growth of this domain needs to be seen in the context of ongoing geopolitical transformation of the world itself. What is reasonably clear is that cyberspace has become a key driver of geopolitical transformation as well. Cyber issues are at the top of international security agenda, along with climate change, international terrorism, migrations, and resource security, etc. International security has acquired a distinct information dimension today. The information revolution is changing the nature of politics and methods of exercising power. Knowledge-based aspects such as control over technology and intellectual property are becoming the new sources of contestation and national power. Control over information is at the heart of contest for power. It is interesting that private companies sit on more private information than the governments. Private citizens part with personal information without thinking at the click of a mouse for private companies while they resist sharing it with the governments. The relationship between the global internet companies, the governments, and citizens is evolving in interesting ways. Information revolution is stimulating multiple revolutions, which are ushering in political, social, and economic change. Technology gives voice to those who are otherwise not heard. It is changing behavioral patterns in society. The massive churn in the Middle East or West Asia, as we call it, brought about by erupting conflicts, sectarian strife, and regional rivalries, has also been facilitated to a large extent by technology. A development of tremendous import has been the quick adaptation of new technologies by the terrorist groups. ISIS has a distinct and effective media strategy, Jihad 3.0, that makes jihadism attractive to the youth. Al-Qaeda has created a jihad cloud and is using the new media for recruitment, for radicalization of young minds, and for reaching out to larger audiences. Governments have also been quick to adopt new strategies based on information revolution. Hierarchical structures and traditional models of governance are being challenged. Governments come under pressure to act following the trending patterns on social media. Politicians, international leaders, TV channels and newspapers take cues from social media to set their agenda. The traditional methods of sober reflection and deliberation are under intense pressure from social media-driven narratives. Time for reflection and deliberation has shrunk tremendously. Social media is under scrutiny for all kinds of reasons. Yet, not all social media is negative. In many cases, it has had positive impact. For instance, the hashtag #BringBackOurGirls on Twitter forced the international community to take note of the girls kidnapped by Boko Haram in Nigeria. Rescuers routinely use social media tools for search and rescue purposes. In India, the Ministry of External Affairs has used social media umpteen number of times for evacuation of persons stranded in conflict zones. Social media was also used effectively during Chennai flood relief and Yemen evacuation missions. One of the technologies which I think is going to have tremendous impact on cyberspace and also society in general is artificial intelligence, and how will it impact cybersecurity? Cyberspace has already become an arena of contestation, and there is a danger that cyber technologies may play a major role in conflicts of tomorrow. The revolution in military affairs is facilitated by the developments of new precision weapons, integrated command and control systems, network-centric warfare, and surveillance reconnaissance technologies. Focused logistics and intelligent intelligence powered by ICTs provide the support mechanism for the overt use of force. A related field that is now gaining global attention is the development of lethal autonomous weapon systems, laws, that can search for a target, assess its defensive capabilities, and choose the best option of attacking, including cyber attacks. Even cybersecurity is set to become more automated and self-learning in the future based on artificial intelligence techniques. The use of cognitive algorithms to constantly learn and adapt to new sets of malware and attack behaviors is likely to further alter the cybersecurity domain. Among the emerging technologies which could have great impact on society is the blockchain technology, already in use in cryptocurrencies like bitcoins, and this is being talked about a lot these days. The blockchain technology makes bitcoins more secure. Many global banks are investigating the potential of blockchains to ensure cheaper, secure, and more efficient financial services. This technology could also be used by governments to manage and protect citizens' data and provide tamper-proof detection to protect critical infrastructure protection. This is one area that will impact the future of cybersecurity. Science fiction is fast becoming a reality. The use of artificial intelligence in cyber defense has been the focus of recent high-profile cybersecurity conferences, indicating a trend in future cyber defense technology development. Companies are looking for next-generation protection systems based on artificial intelligence that understand how to analyze data, anticipate sources of threat, and adjust to cybersecurity threats. However, this has also raised a number of ethical and legal questions on issues of whether autonomous platforms can replace humans, and what would be the impact of leaving high-stake decisions to machines and artificial intelligence platforms. For instance, who will be responsible if intelligent machines violate international law? Are autonomous systems capable of complex decision-making? What if artificial intelligence system itself is subject to a cyber attack which causes undesirable results? These questions may sound futuristic, but there is a need to ponder over them now. We are witnessing the fourth revolution in manufacturing with the emergence of 3D printing. What impact will the new industrial revolution, facilitated by ICTs, have on society? The efficiency of the new technologies will be more, but there is also the danger that the equation between man and machine might tilt in favor of the machine. A reduced role of human beings in decision-making will raise a host of political, economic, ethical, and moral questions which we will have to deal with. Technologies also will have an impact on jobs. I think this is a very important issue and which we need to ponder. In most countries, particularly the developing countries, the youth is getting restive. Not everyone is educated, not everyone is equipped with high-tech jobs. The job opportunities for the young are not growing as fast as they should. This is at the root of many of the security problems like terrorism, organized crime, and migrations. Large-scale displacement of populations has put in jeopardy the future of millions of children. We have to ask how ICTs can help alleviate the problem. No doubt ICTs help create jobs, but most of these jobs require high skills. The need to create capacities and skills is becoming pressing by the day. We need to do a dispassionate and objective analysis of the relationship between technology and jobs. Technologies which increase efficiency but in the process destroy jobs do not suit the developing countries where labor is surplus. These countries need technologies which help open up new sectors of growth. In a country like India, initiatives like Digital India aimed at enhancing the delivery of services are most suitable and will create jobs. So careful selection of technologies for economic growth and governance is important. The technology jobs dilemma is being faced by many countries. Even the developed countries are grappling with this conundrum. According to a study at the MIT's Sloan School of Management, advances in computer technology, including robotics and automated translation services, have been the cause of sluggish employment growth in the US since 2000. The increased productivity leading to more jobs, a trend established since the end of the Second World War, has now been reversed since 2000. It has also been observed that median incomes are falling in the United States despite the record levels of growth in productivity and innovation. So there are some lessons in this for us. The impact of technological revolution was also the focus of discussion at the World Economic Forum meeting in Davos in January 2016. The forum found that as many as 7 million jobs in the world's most advanced countries could be lost by 2020 through redundancy and automation. Though these losses would be partially offset by the creation of 2 million jobs in related sectors such as media, technology, and professional services, the chairman of the forum highlighted the need to transform future workforces to avoid talent shortages, unemployment, and growing inequality. So all this has implications for how we train people, what kind of education we give them, and so on. Today's education is not geared for the next generation jobs. According to the World Economic Forum report, around 65% of children starting primary school today will end up working in jobs that don't yet exist. Therefore, investment in suitable education and adult training programs will be key to future employment. Now, these trends have many important implications. I'm sure you have discussed this, and many of these implications are for national security. Now, let me just mention a few. One, vulnerabilities in cyberspace are growing faster than the capacities to deal with them. This is because technology is changing so very rapidly. Second, the process of development of norms of behavior in cyberspace lags behind significantly the development of technologies. The ongoing discussions must help build a broad-based, comprehensive consensus in the growth of Internet. One idea that has been articulated by Microsoft in recent times is that there should also be norms for the global ICT industry. These norms could include delivering secure products and services, enhancing trust in technology, supporting defensive measures by nation states and industry, assisting in recovery post-attacks, and refraining from any kind of support to offensive attacks. So I think there is also restraint, which a lot of food for thought for global ICT here, because all these ICT companies are so huge, so big, sit on so much of data, they're extremely powerful. And this is coming from a global ICT firm itself, so it's worth looking at. If the norms issues is not resolved, we'll have a problem. Tensions in cyberspace will grow and may get out of control as the potential of new technologies is realized. Third, security agencies need to adapt to new technologies. The concerns of citizens must be factored in. The dilemma between security and privacy needs to be resolved. Neither absolute security nor absolute privacy is possible. And fourth, cybersecurity cooperation must be developed in areas of education, capacity building, and the skills needed for the 21st century. Cooperation on capacity building must be recognized as one of the norms. Now, there are some implications for India, and I just want to mention a few. As far as India is concerned, the government and private sector must build a credible and strong cybersecurity industry in the country. This is the need of the hour. India has a comprehensive cybersecurity strategy in place, but as technologies evolve and threats multiply, India needs to constantly update its capabilities and capacities. We need to take note of the security doctrines which talk about cyber deterrence by punishment, by denial, or by other means. The implications of these doctrines for cybersecurity needs to be understood and studied and understood. Our think tanks should devote sufficient time and resources for this purpose. So in conclusion, I'd like to say that India cannot remain a passive spectator to the ongoing developments in cybersecurity. India should contribute to the present phase of rulemaking in cyberspace. India will have to closely watch the developments in international law with regard to cyberspace. This calls for beefing up capacities in cyber law, cyber diplomacy, and human resource development. I would like to congratulate the Global Commission on Internet Governance, who recently came out with a wonderful report, and I was going through some of the chapters. It's a very thoughtful report. A key feature of the report is that it deals with both security and development aspects, which are essentially two sides of the same coin and are at the core of national security. In addition, the report rightly highlights that the future of Internet will to a large extent depend on a mutual understanding between society and the state, which the authors call a new social compact, whereby the citizens, and I'm quoting from the report, whereby the citizens agree to empower authorities to carry out their mission under a clear, accessible legal framework that includes sufficient safeguards against abuses. End quote. This social compact will also need cooperation between different stakeholders, including private corporations, civil society, and the technical community. This provides a useful model for the future. The present conference, no doubt, will throw up a number of good ideas which will not only help take forward the global debate on cybersecurity, but also provide useful suggestions for Indian policymakers. We look forward to the outcome document of this conference, and I want to congratulate once again for successfully organizing yet another fantastic edition of CyFy. Thank you very much.